Hello, Maximilian. Come on, sit in. Come on in.
Do you want to be on the camera?
Come on, Max. Looking nice, love. Nice job on my hair. Thank you. Looking good. Looking good.
But though you say so yourself.
Well, no, I said your work. I mean, the work that you did is looking good. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new PiPsCast. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks very much for joining us today. It's great having you there. Just for the new people there, if there's anybody that's new, our PiPsCast is our video podcast. It's just for us to basically update you on what's happened in the week, really. Sometimes that could just be just us having a chat with you guys, and that's pretty much what it's going to be today, I think. Yeah, so that's it really, is I want to say. Oh yeah, so if you are new here as well, I'm Darren and this is Elaine.
Hello.
And we live here in our little off-grid property in central Portugal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's been practically a year to the day that we arrived here full time.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who don't know, we actually we organised our residency before we came and before Brexit.
Yeah.
So we just got sort of caught up in the COVID lockdown situation where we couldn't be here. So we're slightly different to people who are now arriving post-Brexit and having to go through all of the visa situation.
We didn't have the D7 situation. People keep asking us, what do I do for this or what do I do for that? But it was very different for us back then and seemed a lot easier, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Before Brexit, really. We didn't have the D7 concerns or anything like that. And as Elaine said, we got our residency before COVID, basically, as well, wasn't it?
Yes.
As you said.
Yeah. We just physically couldn't get here.
Because physically couldn't
at
pick it
the
up.
time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But it's been a year, as you say. We've been here a year now, pretty much as you say to the day. Thereabouts, which is pretty exciting. It's been a really I was just going to say it's been a really quick year, but in some ways it's been really quick, and in some ways it's been kind of just really nice and relaxed and chilled, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on what's happening and
what's been happening.
life is always like that, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah.
It has been really strange though to look back over that year. I was trying to find the exact date, and I'm not that kind. It doesn't bother me. I'm not really that kind of person that thinks about dates as specific milestones or anything.
Apart from a year being a specific date milestone.
Well, roughly,
roughly,
it might have been yesterday or the day before. It might be tomorrow or Saturday. But,
the 15th of September rings a bell, but honestly I have no idea.
I think that's when we set off, when we started our...
And it took us about 5 days to get here. Yeah.
So, there we go. But yes, all the things that when you are not born in a country... and the things that you take for granted. So you were just saying about how when you're born in a country, you get slid into the system right from day one, and your birth gets registered, and you in the UK, so then they know who you are and where you are and what you're doing. Yeah,
that's the UK system. I'm sure it's the same everywhere
so
around.
It's very similar.
You're kind of born into the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have your national insurance is given to you at a young age. I don't know how you get all of that stuff. Because we don't know how you get all of that stuff, because it's a natural progression, isn't it?
Yes, it just happens.
It just happens. You go through school, you start work, So you slide into this system that's just already
easy route to keep you in the system.
Keep you in the system.
But then when you step out of that,
that's it.
It then becomes a whole new learning experience. And if you look back over our previous videos and our podcasts, PiPsCasts, you'll see where we were laughing and talking about, we had to get this piece of paperwork or that piece of paperwork. But I just literally looked over a few photographs very quickly, and one of the very first things that we did when we got here was to prioritise Max.
Yes.
As you do. Get your dog sorted out first.
Yeah.
So he was already registered with the vet in Castelo Branco from our many visits.
Yeah.
And then we wanted him to be Portuguese, little Portugueser. So one of the first things we did was to get his pet passport sorted out.
Yeah.
So he now has no issues with travelling throughout Europe or even getting back into the UK.
That's right.
And it's just so logical and simple and unfussed.
Yeah. Well, that was a priority. It became a priority for us. I don't know if it became a mental priority for us to get Max sorted with his Portuguese passport. And the reason for that was just because one of the big things at the time of moving to another country from
or even
now,
just travelling.
Right.
Even just going on holiday now from the UK to
Yeah.
anywhere in Europe or anywhere,
Yeah,
you have to have an animal health certificate.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to go into that.
No,
We've done it all
no,
before. But it is just a right kerfuffle.
It is, yeah. So that was very high on our agenda, was to get Max to not have to worry about the
Not that he worries about anything.
the pet passport. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's not a worry.
But-
No, he's happy.
Yeah. And
But
then...
Sorry,
yeah.
go on. Carry on,
No,
love. Sorry.
it's okay. Then we were looking and thinking about just what we prioritised. Life for everybody is different, so things that are a priority for us, other people would look and go, well, why didn't you do this first instead?
People did say that.
They did.
They did say that.
Quite regularly.
Quite regularly.
We have our little village house here where we're sitting, and we have a piece of land about 5 minutes walk just on the outskirts of the village, and we had our land for a long time before we bought the village house, and it was always our priority to get that sorted out. So that's what we did. We prioritised getting it cleared and cleaned for like a fire risk, and then also so we could see what we had.
What we had, yeah.
Yeah. And then to start making it useful for us. So getting our pond dug, getting some trees planted, because they always say, when's the best time to plant trees? It's like 20 years ago you should have planted. Yeah, and they'll
20
be.
years, yeah.
But anyway, we prioritised our land to get it cleared.
We
and
prioritised
organised.
getting trees in, because we know they're going to take 20 years or 5 years for some fruit maybe. But yeah, that was it. We had probably different priorities, I suppose, to a lot of people, because we thought, no, land. I don't know why, but I think it's partly always been that the house has always been livable. It's never been luxurious or anything like that, but it's always been livable.
Yeah.
So we've always had the house. We could just sit in the house and everything was great. So because of that, it didn't need to be
such a priority
of the house. So we've
And
gone
I
down to the
think
land. Yeah.
especially for you, when we were sat in the UK, not being able to get here, especially through the hot summers and stuff, we were always concerned about the fire risk that our
About the land. It was our biggest concern, I think, because we had it's only 2 acres, but that's quite a lot, really. It is, I suppose. And it's about and it's just kind of worrying how that land is just sitting when we're not able to get to it. Yeah, it is a little bit of a worry. So the first thing we did, literally the first thing we did, was we got somebody in to clear the land for us so we could actually see. And that was amazing. Actually, somebody had a bit of experience of how things are in Portugal. Because I don't know if I've told this story before, probably many times, but we had an idea. We had our little van parked at the top of our land's on a hill, goes down to the bottom, about 2 acres. We had our little van sat at the top, and that's the part of the land we'd only ever seen, that part of it, hadn't we?
Yes, because it's got olive trees and it's flat and it's clear, relatively clear. Because of the olive trees.
Yeah. And we said we want this area here cleared and usable. And we had somebody over, as I said, with a lot of experience who came into the land and he said, no, what you want it down there. And he pointed right down to the bottom of our land, which we'd never been to before because it had been overgrown by this point by about 10 foot. So he took us right down and showed us where the water was, etc, etc. Yeah, it's all on our previous videos, so I won't go into it in too much depth. But once that land was then clear, took about a week or so, about a week.
Yeah.
it kind of my mental health, I suppose, my brain concerns had kind of slowed down quite a lot. Like I say, right now we can see.
Now it's clear.
We can see what we've got. So that was kind of priorities. Priorities became things that had been on our minds, maybe I suppose, for 2 years. And we're kind of like, how are we going to manage this? How are we going to manage all of that? All of those priorities kind of managed to get fixed, I suppose, over a period of time. Yeah. So that's how our priorities became our priorities, weren't they?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And now that we feel as though we can go to the land every day, we can, we've built the garden house there. We have somewhere to sit if it's windy or raining or just too hot, and then we can do jobs.
Yeah.
Or just go for an hour or stay there for the day. And we now have the options because that's what we chose to do.
Yeah.
But then what we've done this week...
Yeah. So a year later...
Yeah, a whole year later, we've now started work on our village house.
Yeah. Which is actually now really exciting.
It is, yes. So every house that we've ever lived in, we have been very fortunate throughout our lives that we have always worked. Both of us have always worked. We've always been in a positive situation where we could buy our own home. So we've always upgraded, extended, improved every house that we've lived in.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
We've looked at houses and thought, oh, it needs a bit of work, that'll do.
Yeah.
We'll have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our budget was never big. We used to live in the northeast of England. Houses can get expensive there now in the really posh areas, but we didn't live in the really posh areas. Listen to us. We lived in the smaller towns, the wherever, but we always improved every house, and obviously we didn't build big extensions ourselves. No. We're not saying, we have those skills, but I think we had learnt a lot through the time, and we've always done DIY, and we've done a couple of van builds for those of you that don't know. So we're tackling this village house. I don't even want to call it a restoration because it's not really a restoration. We're just making it the way we want it.
Yeah, quite simply.
Yeah.
It's a simple house anyway.
It is.
I think that's the thing with the houses in Portugal. Well, I don't know, village houses in Portugal, they are simple. They're not any, well, I can't think of a better word for it.
Yeah.
They're simple houses, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're going to tackle the renovation in a simple way,
yes.
I think, aren't we?
But I've always been a big believer in being in a space to know how you want to use it.
That's right.
So...
I was just laughing there because we've changed the idea of what we're going to do in this house. We've
so many times.
Changed the idea.
Yeah.
Which is
and
why
every time it's got more and more simple.
It has. Yeah, it has.
Simple people doing simple things.
It has, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has.
So, but we've actually started.
Yes, we've started.
And
sorry, I went off there a little bit because I was thinking, where are we going? But yes, we've started.
So, you'll see a lot of the start of that on our video on Saturday.
Yeah.
So please come along and support us by watching the Saturday video.
Yeah, we do appreciate that. Thank you.
But if you look back a year ago, you'll see where we did a house tour when we first arrived, and we were emptying things out of various rooms and weird things and old beds, and
we could imagine that the house had been empty. From that, we imagined
for a long time.
This house had been empty for a while. Yeah. And I think that might come across a little bit on the video on Saturday. How it has kind of, when I don't know, we're kind of all estimating these dates. I think we talk about them on the video on Saturday, but we think the house has been empty 15, 20 years possibly.
At least, possibly more.
And things have started to fall apart inside the house because of that. So what we're doing is we're repairing the bits that have fallen apart, aren't we really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, not making massive renovations, just as you say. Yeah. So
it's just every little job that we do makes a difference. I think
Yeah.
because we've been here and we've, like Darren had started to touch on there, you were saying that we had ideas before we got here, because obviously we'd seen the house and
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. We knew what we were coming into, and we were like, oh, we could do this, we could do that, you could do this.
Yeah.
Some other people had said, oh, you want to
Yeah.
walk through this and build that and do
The
this.
kind, friendly people on YouTube are giving us lots of hints, ideas about what to do,
Yeah.
and the jobs got bigger and bigger in our minds and said, oh, actually we could. But those ideas that you guys gave us on YouTube kind of, I don't know, still, even though we probably couldn't go to, getting something as luxurious as we would possibly like, they still gave us ideas of well, that's an idea, so maybe we could do that this way.
Yeah.
So we've had all of these ideas, haven't we, kind of going through our minds. But what has happened is we have, as we've said many times, pared it right back now to quite a simple...
because we've lived here, we now know how we want the
that's
space
it.
to work for us and what our skill set is.
Yeah.
So we're good at some things, we're not good at other things.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter though.
Yeah, there's always...
That's another thing, we're not perfectionists. The house is a simple house. We're going to build it back in a simple way.
Yeah.
And that's good for us, isn't it? That works for us.
Absolutely.
Because we're not professionals or anything like that, which you'll see on the Saturday video. No. But hopefully we'll do a good job of it. But it's really just a case of just making it comfortable for ourselves.
Just making the small layout work better for how we want to live.
That's exactly it.
In our house and live out of our house, because the reason that we came to somewhere with a much better climate than the northeast of England in the UK was because the weather is so much better here, so you can spend so much more time outside.
Outdoors, yeah.
So
that's it.
You're not living in your house, you're living out of your house. Your house is like your refuge to come back to and go to sleep at the end of the day, or it's a meeting point for friends to come over and have coffee. It's not like somewhere where you hunker down. Some places have snow and, the winter closes in on them for months, and you have to have a cosy home where you can hunker yourself down and keep yourself safe and warm and dry, that kind of thing.
You
That's
could
not
kind
our
of say the
situation.
same in the summer though, couldn't you? In the middle of the summer,
Possibly.
we have the opposite to that, where we have to come into the house to keep cool, really.
Yes, on those really extreme days.
So there is a kind of, but again, we've been here a year. There is a balance, but we've been here a year now, and we now understand that. We know, right? Okay, July and August, we best get ourselves in the house because it's a little bit cooler than anywhere else, really.
Yeah, when you
things like that. So we've learned a lot over the
40s.
So we've learned a lot over the last year. Yeah, which is good.
So those of you who have been watching our videos for a long time, thank you very much. You will, over the next few weeks, see some changes in our little village house.
Yeah.
And for those of you who remember when we did our PiPsCasts in what is now our bedroom, and it had a big crack in the wall, which we just called crack. So people began to refer to it as like its own
thing.
being. And then when we moved into this room here at the front, people were, what's happened to crack? Have you sorted out crack? There's no crack. What's happened? And it was because we'd moved rooms. Well, the reason we didn't do anything with crack was because we wanted to see if it was something that was still moving and if it was still an ongoing issue. Did it get any worse over the year?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So now that we know it hasn't, we're happy to sort of whack at it and fill it all in and get it sorted out. So those are the kinds of things that we've been sitting for a year
watching.
We're
watching the crap.
To see if our house fell down.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
What's the worst case scenario of hitting a wall with a sledgehammer? Worst case scenario.
House falls down.
Yeah, it's not so bad, is it?
Very positive, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, everybody have your fingers crossed that doesn't happen.
Oh, okay.
Because we would like to start knocking some walls down.
Okay, yeah. Well, all of the internal walls in here as well are
not load bearing.
Not load bearing. They're all an after effect. When the house was built as 4 walls.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
a big, thick stone walls.
That's right.
Like schist, rock.
Yeah.
It's, the walls are like 60 centimetres
Yeah, pretty much.
deep.
Yeah.
So
all of the internal walls which we're working on are secondary to that. They're later.
yeah,
they're later
just subdivisions.
on. They're just
What you often find, and what is in the ruin next door, is they don't even, because, backtrack Elaine. Okay, so the ruin next door, this house, and the ruin the other way that doesn't have a roof on. You'll have seen all of these in various videos we've done. They were all owned by the same family, and they were all like one big family home kind of thing. So then when people die in Portugal, the property and everything gets passed on down, but it also gets subdivided between different members of the family, and we think that's what's happened here. Yeah. So that the one without the roof became a separate entity. This one became a separate entity. The ruin next door, but still has a roof, that's a separate entity.
Yeah.
And you can see next door that has internal walls, but they're all just wooden.
Which is what we're going to think of, what we were thinking about the other day as well here. That would be commonplace in the UK. Wooden internal walls is commonplace in the UK.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Stud walls.
Stud walls, yes.
Okay. So Elaine was saying, rather than building a brick wall where we want to fill a door, why not we put a stud wall in there? Again, it just becomes a simpler job, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
A simpler job.
Bricklayers.
We're not bricklayers, no. I mean, we could do it with bricks. They might even be slightly cheaper. Honestly, not really sure. But there's not going to be a lot of difference in cost. But then Elaine said, why don't we build it in wood? And
it's just, know we can do that.
Yeah, but there's always this thinking process. We're trying to. It just makes it a little bit simpler again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We don't. It's just a stud wall. It's just a. I don't know. It's not a supporting wall. What do you call it? Yeah.
So then we think that our house, was then kind of renovated a bit. At some point, it had these single brick internal walls built. And a new roof was put on, and then everything was rendered in this like concretey stuff internally. So just to make it, I don't know, saleable, usable.
Maybe saleable.
Who knows?
I don't know. No idea. But anyway.
So that's where we are.
That's where we are. Saturday's video. We'll kind of update everything we just said, I suppose. There, Saturday's video, give you a little bit of an idea. You get to see it. Yeah. Cool. So is that everything?
Yeah.
Is it?
Do you have anything you would like to say?
I can't think of anything else, to be honest. I think we've talked a lot about building.
Because that's what we've done all week.
It is what we've done all week. Yeah.
And we always not change our minds. We always try and up. What's the word I'm looking for?
Upskill ourselves. Not
upskill.
Go on.
No. We will always try and make the job easier if we can, or better, depending on how many steps we think the job has. If we can break it down into small steps so that it's manageable, then we'll definitely do that.
I think so, yeah. Because we've been laying a few bricks this week, but it's taken us a week. But not really. It's taken us a few days. But it's because we're doing a few layers, letting it set. A few more layers, letting it set. You're going to see it on the video on Saturday, hopefully, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. But
other than that, are we done?
Yes, I think we have to up and get out. We were just sort of sitting and having a lazy morning because it was raining. But it's our last rainy day for a little while, so we didn't mind. No. But then the rain stopped before it was forecast and the sun came out.
Beautiful already. So what time is it now? About 11 o'clock. It's about 11 o'clock, I think, Thursday morning. It only rained till about 10 and the sun's already out. It's beautiful. So we'll bring it to an end, bring it to a close. Thank you very much for being there. Thank you very much for joining us on this video.
His hair look lovely.
Elaine done my hair this morning, And thank you, it's lovely. And thanks very much for being there. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We'll see you on the Saturday video.
Yeah.
And
Take care.
Take care, everyone. Speak to you soon.
Next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.